When someone lives too much in your mind tonight, we delve into a profound understanding that Carl Jung grasped with remarkable depth. This insight has the potential to fundamentally reshape the way you experience your most cherished relationships, the inner serenity and peace you feel, and even your fundamental sense of self. The core message is remarkably simple to state, yet its implications are truly vast and profoundly impactful. It urges you not to excessively dwell on or overthink anyone in your life. This advice applies broadly and universally. Do not spend too much mental energy on your parents, your current partner, a former lover or spouse, your beloved children, your dearest friends, the individual who may have caused you pain, or even the person you are actively striving to impress. In short, avoid overthinking about anyone at all. I understand that this notion might sound rather unusual, perhaps even a little cold or detached, especially at first hearing. This is because for much of our lives, we have been consistently taught that truly caring about people means holding them in our thoughts constantly. That love itself requires us to keep someone perpetually in our mind's eye, and that genuine connection necessitates an unwavering, continuous mental focus on the other person. However, Jung would offer you a strikingly different perspective. He would explain that when you become overly preoccupied with thoughts about anyone, when a person begins to occupy a disproportionate amount of space within your mental landscape, you are not, in fact, fostering a deeper connection with them. Instead, you are engaged in an entirely different and often less healthy psychological process. You are projecting aspects of yourself onto them. You are, in a sense, losing your own distinct self, and you are effectively giving your personal power away. As you lie here this evening, in the calm and quiet stillness, I want to guide you toward a deeper understanding of what Jung truly meant by this powerful statement. Because truly grasping this concept has the capacity to liberate you from deeply ingrained patterns of thinking that have undoubtedly been draining your energy and exhausting you for years. These are patterns characterized by obsessive thinking, persistent rumination, and relentless mental loops that seem to spin endlessly without ever reaching a satisfying resolution. They manifest in relationships that exist more vividly within the confines of your own mind than in the tangible reality of your interactions. Let's begin by examining what genuinely transpires within your psyche when you find yourself thinking too much about another individual. When you constantly find your mind returning to another person, perpetually wondering what they might be thinking of you, repeatedly replaying past conversations in your head, continuously imagining future interactions, or persistently attempting to figure them out, you are not participating in an authentic, genuine relationship. Instead, you are engaged in what Jung termed projection. Projection is a psychological mechanism where you take something originating from your own inner world, your own psyche, and unconsciously place it onto another person. You essentially attribute your own feelings, your own deeply seated fears, your own unfulfilled desires, or even aspects of your own shadow, the parts of yourself you may not acknowledge or like, to the other person. You then experience these qualities as if they genuinely belong to that person, or as if their actions are entirely about them, when in reality, they are fundamentally about you and your own internal landscape. So, when you lie awake at night, grappling with thoughts about someone, intensely trying to comprehend them, meticulously attempting to decipher what they truly meant when they uttered a particular phrase, striving to decode their complex behavior, or even attempting to predict their very next move, you are not actually thinking about the real, flesh and blood person. What you are engaging with is your projection of them. You are thinking about the version of them that exists solely within your own mind, a meticulously constructed narrative you have created about who they are, what they truly desire, what they genuinely think of you, and what they are capable of. And that internal story, Jung would assert, that elaborate narrative you've woven, tells you far more about yourself than it ever could about the other individual. This distinction is absolutely crucial and fundamental to comprehend. The person who occupies your mind is not the actual, living, breathing individual. The person residing in your mental space is your own intricate construction, your personal projection, your subjective interpretation of them. And the more you dedicate your mental energy to thinking about this internalized version of them, the more elaborate and complex that mental construction becomes. Consequently, the further you drift away from the authentic reality of who they truly are. Jung dedicated decades of his life to helping people fully understand this profound truth, that we do not, in fact, encounter other people directly and purely. Instead, we encounter our projections of them. We interact with the images we have painstakingly created, the stories we have meticulously told ourselves, and the subjective meanings we have assigned to their words, actions, and very presence. And these projections, these intricate mental constructions, reveal significantly more about our own inner psyche than they ever do about the other person. When you find yourself unable to cease thinking about someone, pause and sincerely ask yourself, what am I truly projecting onto them? What specific part of myself am I observing in them? Or what aspect of myself am I desperately wanting from them? Or even what deep fear within me am I seeing mirrored in them? More profoundly, what does this obsessive pattern of thinking about this particular person reveal about my own inner world, about me? Because here is a fundamental truth that Jung deeply understood. The immense energy you expend fixating on other people is energy that becomes utterly unavailable for your own personal life, your own growth, and your own well-being. It is vital psychic energy that has been consistently redirected outwards, invested heavily in someone else, becoming entirely consumed in the arduous task of trying to understand, control, predict, or win over another individual. And that precious energy, Jung would emphasize, desperately needs to be brought back to you. It needs to be consciously withdrawn from its external focus on the other person and intentionally redirected inward, towards your own process of becoming, towards your own unique journey of individuation, and towards the profound discovery of who you truly are when you are not constantly oriented towards someone else's perceived needs or desires. This particular insight is especially critical if you are an individual who has consistently been focused on the well-being and perceptions of other people throughout your life. If you grew up in an environment where you learned, from a very young age, to meticulously monitor the moods and emotional states of others, if you developed the skill of managing other people's emotions and reactions, or if you were taught that your primary role was to anticipate and fulfill everyone else's needs and ensure they received them, if this resonates with your experience, then thinking too much about others isn't merely a habitual pattern. For you, it likely represents a deeply ingrained survival strategy, one you meticulously developed during your formative years. It was your means of maintaining a sense of safety, your way of earning love and acceptance, and how you managed to sustain vital connections within your environment. You learned to channel all your attention outward, because focusing inward on your own needs and feelings may not have been perceived as safe, or perhaps it was not permitted, or simply wasn't valued within your early relational experiences. However, now, as a fully fledged adult, that outdated survival strategy is no longer serving your highest good. In fact, it is actively depleting you. It is preventing you from genuinely knowing yourself, from understanding your own authentic desires and boundaries. It keeps you perpetually oriented towards others in a manner that ultimately prevents you from truly coming home to your own inner self. Jung would describe this state as living in participation mystique. This is his term for a psychological state where you are so deeply merged or intertwined with another person psychologically that you literally cannot discern where your own boundaries end and theirs begin. You become so utterly focused on them that you have effectively lost your own distinct psychological boundaries. You have forfeited your fundamental sense of self as a separate, autonomous individual. And when you are immersed in this participation mystique with someone, when your mind is ceaselessly occupied with thoughts of them, you are not genuinely engaged in a healthy, reciprocal relationship. Instead, you are enmeshed with them. You are psychologically entangled. And that, Jung would argue, is not the foundation of healthy connection. Rather, it represents a profound loss of self. True relationship, Jung profoundly understood, absolutely requires differentiation. It demands that you possess a clear and robust understanding of who you are as an individual, distinctly separate from the other person. It necessitates that you cultivate your own rich inner life, establish your own unshakable center, and develop a strong sense of self that does not depend on what they think, how they feel, or whether they approve of you. But you simply cannot cultivate and develop that differentiated self if you are constantly consumed with thoughts about them. If all your precious mental energy is flowing outwards towards them, striving to understand them, attempting to predict their every move, or trying to meticulously manage your relationship with them, you must consciously and deliberately reclaim that energy. You must choose to significantly reduce the amount you think about them. This isn't because you no longer care, quite the opposite. It's because true, authentic caring about someone does not necessitate obsessive thinking. In fact, obsessive thinking often serves as a formidable barrier to genuine, heartfelt caring. Real caring blossoms when you are able to perceive the other person clearly, precisely as they are, without the distorting lens of your own projections. It occurs when you can be fully present with them, without needing them to conform to any expectation other than simply being themselves. It is when you can love them deeply, without simultaneously losing your own self in their presence. But this profound and healthy way of relating only becomes truly possible once you have undertaken the vital work of withdrawing your projections. It becomes possible when you have ceased making them the absolute center of your mental universe, and when you have consciously redirected your invaluable attention back to yourself. I recognize that this might feel deeply counterintuitive at first. It might feel as though if you cease thinking about someone, you will inevitably sever or lose your connection with them. It might seem that constant mental focus is the very glue that maintains the relationship's integrity. However, Jung would emphatically tell you that the exact opposite is true. The more you obsessively think about someone, the less you are actually able to truly see them. The more elaborate and intricate your mental construction of them becomes, the further removed you are from truly knowing who they authentically are. The more you project onto them, the more you are, in essence, in a relationship with your own psyche, rather than with the real person standing before you. So, tonight, as you begin the gentle process of allowing yourself to rest, I want to invite you to seriously consider a transformative possibility. That thinking less about others might, in fact, significantly improve and deepen your relationships. That consciously withdrawing some of that pervasive, obsessive mental focus could create the essential space necessary for genuine, heartfelt connection to flourish. Because when you stop constantly thinking about someone, when you cease the relentless effort to figure them out, or manage their perceptions, or predict their actions, something profound begins to shift within you. You become noticeably more present in your own life. You become far more available to truly see them, to hear them, and to connect with them when you are actually in their company, instead of being caught up in the incessant whirl of your thoughts about them. Crucially, you also become significantly more available to yourself. All that precious energy that was previously flowing outward now returns inward. And suddenly you find yourself with ample attention for your own rich inner life, your own genuine feelings, your own unaddressed needs, and your own unique personal journey. This, Jung explained, is the essence of individuation. It is the profound process of becoming your authentic self, of developing your own stable inner center, and of learning to live your life from the inside out, rather than being constantly reactive to external events, to what other people are doing, thinking, or feeling. And this journey of individuation absolutely requires that you stop indiscriminately giving so much of your invaluable mental energy to other people. It demands that you cultivate a deeper interest in yourself, in your own unfolding, than you are in the endless task of figuring everyone else out. Now, I want to be unequivocally clear about something vital. This counsel does not imply that you should become cold, emotionally detached, or uncaring. It certainly does not mean that you should cease loving people or withdraw from engaging in meaningful relationships. What it signifies is that you learn to relate to others in a profoundly different, healthier manner. You learn to be present with people without merging your identity with theirs. You learn to care for them deeply without making them the absolute center of your entire psyche. You learn to love them wholeheartedly while steadfastly maintaining your own separate and distinct sense of self. And paradoxically, it is precisely this differentiation that makes you far more capable of experiencing real, profound intimacy. Because true intimacy, Jung taught, is not about merging into one indistinct entity or losing yourself entirely in the other person. Instead, it is about two whole, distinct individuals truly meeting one another. It's about two differentiated individuals consciously choosing to be together, to share their lives, without either person losing their unique identity or self in the process. Yet, for most of us, this fundamental skill was never explicitly taught. We were often conditioned to believe that love equates to constant, unwavering focus on the other person, that caring deeply means thinking about them incessantly, all the time. That genuine connection demands making them the single most important entity in your entire life. And for some individuals, particularly those who did not receive consistent, secure love during their early developmental years, thinking obsessively about others becomes a desperate, albeit unconscious, method of attempting to control the relationship itself. The underlying unspoken thought often is, if I can just think about them enough, if I can finally figure them out completely, if I can accurately predict what they need, then perhaps they will stay. Perhaps they will love me. Perhaps I will finally be safe. But Jung would gently, yet firmly, tell you that true safety does not emanate from trying to control others through a relentless, constant mental focus. Authentic safety, he believed, arises from cultivating a strong, resilient, and well-developed sense of self. A self strong enough to navigate and handle whatever may transpire within your relationships. It means being able to feel okay and maintain your inner equilibrium even if someone chooses to leave, or disappoints you, or fails to provide what you had hoped for. And you simply cannot develop that essential kind of internal security while you are consistently giving all your personal power away to thoughts and preoccupations about other people. You must consciously bring your focus back to yourself. You must learn to direct as much attention and thoughtful consideration towards yourself as you currently dedicate to them. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? What am I feeling? What do I truly want? What is authentically true for me in this very moment? These, Jung would insist, are the questions that truly matter. These are the profound questions that facilitate self-knowledge. These are the questions that progressively build your stable inner center. But if you are perpetually preoccupied with someone else, constantly oriented outward, you will never arrive at these crucial questions. You will always be striving to read someone else's mind, always attempting to manage someone else's experience or perception of you. And that, Jung knew, is utterly exhausting. It is depleting. It is a way of living that ultimately prevents you from ever truly inhabiting your own life, from dwelling authentically within your own experience. So tonight, as an integral part of allowing yourself to deeply rest, I want to extend an invitation for you to engage in a very specific practice. Practice simply noticing when your mind involuntarily shifts its focus to someone else. Notice the moment you begin thinking about them, wondering about their motives, or trying to intricately figure them out. And when you become aware of this mental shift, gently, compassionately redirect your attention. Not with any form of harsh judgment or self-criticism, but simply with a gentle, acknowledging thought, "Oh, there I go again," observing yourself thinking about them, and then intentionally bring your attention back to yourself, back to the natural rhythm of your breath, back to the physical sensations within your own body, back to the present moment you are currently experiencing. This is fundamentally a practice, a continuous discipline. It's not a task you complete once and then it's done forever. It's something you engage in repeatedly, over and over, noticing, then gently redirecting, noticing, then redirecting again. Over time, this consistent practice will profoundly alter your relationship with your own mind. You will begin to clearly perceive just how much vital energy you have been consistently dedicating to thoughts about others. You will start to recognize the recurring patterns, the specific individuals you tend to think about most obsessively, particular situations that consistently trigger this kind of rumination. and the self-limiting stories you tell yourself about what other people might think of you. And as you gain clearer insight into these patterns, you will become progressively less controlled by them. You will develop a greater sense of conscious choice. You will gain the ability to choose to redirect your attention rather than being helplessly pulled into the endless mental loop. Jung referred to this heightened self-awareness as consciousness, becoming deeply aware of your internal patterns so that you are not merely living them out unconsciously. And consciousness, he firmly believed, is the very genesis of true freedom. Freedom from the entrenched patterns that have been dictating your experience. Freedom from the obsessive thoughts that have been relentlessly exhausting you. Freedom from the constant outward orientation towards others that has been preventing you from truly knowing and understanding yourself. This freedom, it must be acknowledged, does not manifest overnight. But it begins with internalizing what Jung so keenly understood, that thinking excessively about anyone is not a genuine expression of love. It is not true connection. It is, more accurately, projection. It represents a subtle but significant loss of self. It is the act of giving your invaluable personal power away. And you, as an autonomous individual, possess the agency to choose differently. You can choose to think less about them and more about yourself. You can choose to consciously withdraw your projections. You can choose to return to your own authentic center. This is the profound work, and it is undeniably worth undertaking, because on the other side of this challenging yet rewarding work awaits a version of you that is more present, more deeply grounded, and far more capable of engaging in real, authentic relationships, precisely because you are no longer losing yourself in the process. Tonight, simply start with the act of noticing. Observe how frequently your thoughts gravitate towards other people. Pay close attention to the qualitative nature of those thoughts. Notice what it physically feels like in your body when you find yourself ensnared in obsessive thinking about someone. And then, gently, practice returning to yourself, back to your breath, back to your body, back to this present moment, right here and now. You are not required to solve anything tonight. You are not obligated to figure anyone out. You simply need to be here, present with yourself. That alone is sufficient. That is the very beginning. And from this foundational beginning, everything has the potential to profoundly change. Allow yourself to rest now. Permit your mind to gradually begin to quiet itself. Allow yourself to simply notice if thoughts about someone else arise within your consciousness. And then, gently and kindly, bring your attention back to your own immediate experience. You are here. You are breathing. You are alive. And that, in this very moment, is what truly matters. Not what they might be thinking, not what they are currently doing, not what they truly meant. Just you. Just here. Just now. This is precisely where your power resides, in this present moment, in your own heightened awareness, in your own profound presence with yourself. Jung deeply understood this, and now, you too are beginning to grasp this essential truth. Simply rest, simply breathe, simply be with yourself for this sacred moment. Everything else can patiently wait. There is another crucial insight that Jung understood regarding why we tend to think excessively about other people. He recognized that quite often, it's not truly about the other person at all. Instead, it frequently serves as a means of avoiding something within ourselves that we find uncomfortable or difficult to confront. When your mind is overflowing with thoughts about someone else, when you are perpetually analyzing them or worrying incessantly about them, or constantly replaying past interactions, a significant part of what is occurring is that you are using these externalized thoughts as a deliberate strategy to evade something else entirely. It is something deep inside you that urgently requires your attention, but which feels too uncomfortable, too painful, or too challenging to genuinely face. Perhaps it is your own inherent loneliness that you're avoiding. Perhaps it is a deep-seated fear. It could be your own unresolved grief, or anger, or shame. Perhaps it is the daunting question of who you truly are, and what you genuinely desire from your life. Or perhaps it is the profound emptiness you anticipate you would feel if you were to cease filling your mind with thoughts about others. Jung would assert that this obsessive thinking about other people is very often a powerful defense mechanism. It is a subtle, unconscious way of maintaining a distraction from your own essential inner work. Because as long as you remain intensely focused on them, you effectively do not have to focus on yourself. As long as you are expending all your energy trying to figure them out, you are successfully postponing the more difficult task of figuring yourself out. And this insight is exceptionally important to understand with deep compassion, rather than with harsh judgment. You are not engaging in this pattern because you are inherently weak or foolish. You are doing it because, at some formative point in your life, most likely during your childhood, you learned, consciously or unconsciously, that focusing on yourself was not safe, or was not valued, or perhaps even consistently brought you pain. Perhaps when you attempted to express your own legitimate needs, you were dismissed, or even punished. Perhaps when you courageously showed your genuine feelings, you were told you were too sensitive. Perhaps when you tried to assert yourself or your boundaries, you were made to feel selfish or inconsiderate. So in response, you learn to redirect your focus entirely onto others instead. You learn to make yourself indispensable and useful by understanding them, by managing their expectations, and by accommodating their needs. And now, even though you are a fully capable adult, and even though the original difficult situation from your past is long gone, the deeply ingrained pattern persists. Your mind automatically, almost reflexively, gravitates towards others. You automatically find yourself thinking about what they need, what they think, what they want, and you rarely, if ever, direct that same level of meticulous attention towards your own inner world. Jung would describe this as a splitting off from the self. The self, in his profound understanding, refers to your true nature, your authentic being, the deepest part of you that instinctively knows what you truly need, what you genuinely want, and how you authentically feel. But when you are constantly and exclusively focused on others, you inevitably lose vital contact with this essential self. You begin to live your life from the outside in, rather than from the inside out. And living from the outside in means you are perpetually reactive. You are constantly responding to what others are doing or saying or thinking. You are always adjusting your own behavior and emotional state based on their reactions. Your mood becomes dependent on their mood. Your inner peace becomes contingent upon their approval. Your entire sense of self-worth hinges on how they treat you. This, Jung asserted, is an inherently unstable and precarious way to live, because you fundamentally cannot control other people. You can obsessively think about them constantly. You can strive to understand them with perfect clarity. You can attempt to predict their every conceivable move. And yet, despite all your efforts, they will still act as they choose. They will remain who they truly are, and you will be left endlessly trying to manage something that was never, in truth, yours to manage in the first place. Jung would invite you to deeply consider what might happen if you simply stopped. What if you ceased your relentless efforts to figure them out? What if you stopped obsessing over what they truly meant, or what they genuinely think, or what they are going to do next? What then would be left in that newly created space? For many individuals, the answer to this question is profoundly uncomfortable. What would be left is the true self you have been so diligently avoiding, the raw feelings you have been running from, the difficult questions you have been too afraid to ask, the emptiness or the grief, or the anger, or the loneliness that your constant thoughts about others have been so effectively covering up. And that is undeniably hard. That is precisely why the pattern of obsessive thinking is so persistent. Because facing yourself, truly facing your own inner reality, without the constant distraction of obsessive thoughts about others, that, my friend, takes immense courage. It requires you to consciously be with profound discomfort. It demands that you genuinely feel what you have been so assiduously avoiding. But Jung firmly believed that this, and only this, is the sole authentic path to true freedom. You cannot experience genuine liberation while you are constantly giving your power away to thoughts and preoccupations about other people. You can only become truly free when you are willing to consciously turn towards yourself, to be fully present with yourself, to bravely face what is actually there, residing deep inside you. And what resides there, Jung would reassure you, is not as terrifying or as monstrous as you might imagine. What is there is simply you, your genuine feelings, your authentic needs, your deepest desires, your inherent fears, your fundamental humanity, all the parts of yourself that you may have been taught to keep hidden, or to meticulously manage, or to rigidly suppress. When you cease thinking so much about others and begin to consciously pay attention to yourself, you embark on the profound journey of discovering who you actually are. Not who you think you should be, not who others desperately want you to be, but who you authentically are beneath all the layers of conditioning, performance, and people-pleasing behaviors. This is precisely what Jung called individuation, the transformative process of becoming your unique self, of differentiating yourself from the collective, from your family's expectations, and from the myriad expectations and projections that have been placed upon you. It is the journey of learning to live from your own deep inner center instead of being ceaselessly pulled in every conceivable direction by your thoughts and anxieties about others. And individuation absolutely requires that you stop outsourcing your valuable attention, that you stop perpetually making other people seem more interesting or more important than your own self. It demands that you consciously bring your curiosity, your care, and your mental energy back to your own rich and complex inner life. Now, I want to reiterate something with absolute clarity. This does not imply that you should become self-absorbed or narcissistic. It certainly does not mean you should cease caring about others or stop thinking about them entirely. What it means is that you cultivate a profound sense of balance. You begin to afford yourself as much careful attention as you consistently give to others. You think about your own needs, your own desires, and your own well-being with the same genuine care and consideration that you dedicate to theirs. For many individuals, particularly those who have spent their entire lives primarily focused on others, this concept feels revolutionary, and often it feels inherently selfish. The conditioning to prioritize others runs so deep that even the act of thinking about yourself can feel fundamentally wrong. It can feel as though you are abandoning others, or as if you are being a bad person. But Jung would explain that you cannot genuinely care for others or offer them true support when you are not first caring for yourself. You cannot be truly present with someone else when you are constantly abandoning your own needs and inner experience. You cannot offer authentic, profound love when you are not loving yourself enough to truly pay attention to your own inner life. The kind of thinking about others that depletes you, that exhausts you, that keeps you awake at night in anxious loops, that, Jung would argue, is not love. That is anxiety. That is an attempt at control. That is projection. And ultimately, it serves neither you nor them in a healthy way. Real, authentic care for others emanates from an overflow. It originates from having a sufficiently full and rich inner life, a strong and stable enough sense of self that you can be truly present with them without losing yourself in their experience. It means you can love them deeply without needing them to be anything other than precisely what they are. But to arrive at that profound and liberated place, you must undertake the essential work of returning to yourself. You must intentionally practice thinking about yourself. You must learn to ask yourself the very same deep and insightful questions you have been asking about everyone else. What do I truly need right now? What am I genuinely feeling? What do I sincerely want? What holds deep importance for me? What do I truly value? What genuinely brings me alive? What am I actively avoiding? What am I afraid of? These questions, when you genuinely sit with them, when you grant them the same unwavering attention you have been consistently giving to thoughts about others, these questions, Jung would say, lead you home. They guide you back to your true self. They help you embark on the profound journey of discovering who you truly are. And discovering who you are changes absolutely everything. Because when you truly know yourself, When you are deeply grounded in your own authentic sense of identity and inherent worth, you cease needing constant external validation from others. You stop needing to meticulously control how they perceive you. You cease needing to think about them constantly because you become secure enough within yourself to simply allow them to be who they are. This is the central paradox Jung profoundly understood. The less you obsessively think about others, the healthier and more authentic your relationships ultimately become, because you are then relating to them from a place of inner wholeness, rather than from a desperate place of need. You are with them because you consciously choose to be, not because you desperately need them to complete you, or define you, or validate your existence. But reaching this state requires breaking the deeply ingrained habit of obsessive thinking about others. And habits, especially those that are so deeply embedded within our psyche, do not break easily. They demand sustained awareness, diligent practice, and a profound sense of patience and compassion for yourself throughout the process. So, let's explore what this practice actually entails, because intellectually understanding that you shouldn't think too much about anyone is one thing. Actively changing the ingrained pattern is an entirely different and more challenging endeavor. The practice begins with simple noticing. Every single time you find your mind wandering and becoming preoccupied with someone else, simply observe it. Do not judge yourself for it. Do not attempt to forcefully stop the thoughts. Just notice. Acknowledge, "Oh, I'm thinking about them again. I'm wondering what they're thinking about me. I'm replaying that conversation for the 10th time. I'm trying to figure out what they meant." Just notice. And in that very act of noticing, you are already creating a small but significant space. You are no longer completely identified with the thought. Instead, you are observing it from a slight distance. And that observation, that dawning awareness, is the very genesis of freedom. Then, gently redirect your attention. Bring your focus back to yourself. Ask, "What am I feeling right now? What sensations are present in my body? What do I truly need in this particular moment?" Initially, this will likely feel somewhat mechanical or forced. It will feel like you are simply going through the motions. Your mind will inevitably want to revert directly back to thinking about the other person, and it will do so again. That is perfectly normal. It's how deeply ingrained habits operate. But each and every time you notice the pattern, and then consciously redirect your attention, you are actively creating a new neural pathway within your brain. You are teaching your mind that there is an alternative option to the habitual, obsessive thinking about others. You are practicing the vital act of coming back to yourself. Over time, with consistent repetition, this process becomes progressively easier. The act of noticing happens more quickly. The redirection becomes more natural and fluid. You begin to catch yourself earlier in the cycle of obsessive thinking, and sometimes you may find that you don't even embark down that path at all, because you have cultivated a deeper awareness of the choice you possess. Jung would also suggest that it is incredibly helpful to understand what the obsessive thinking is genuinely attempting to do for you. What underlying need is it striving to meet? What purpose is it ultimately serving? For some individuals, thinking incessantly about others is a desperate attempt to feel connected. If they are constantly in your thoughts, you might feel less alone. For others, it is a way of attempting to feel in control. If you can just figure them out, perfectly predict their actions, and understand them completely, perhaps you can control the outcome of the interaction or relationship. For still others, thinking about someone is a way of skillfully avoiding grief. As long as you are actively thinking about them, imagining conversations, or holding on to a fragile hope concerning them, you don't have to confront the painful reality that the relationship might be over, or that they are simply incapable of providing what you truly need. Whatever the obsessive thinking is doing for you, there is very likely a legitimate and deeply felt need underneath it all, a fundamental human need for connection, or control, or comfort, or hope. And that need absolutely deserves your compassionate attention. However, thinking obsessively about someone else is not actually meeting that underlying need. It is merely creating the illusion that the need is being satisfied. Real connection stems from being fully present with people when you are actually with them, not from dwelling on them when they are absent. Real control arises from effectively managing your own reactions and choices, not from vainly attempting to control others through sheer mental focus. Real comfort comes from being compassionately present with yourself, not from filling your mind with thoughts of someone else. So, a crucial part of this practice is learning to meet your own fundamental needs directly, rather than attempting to fulfill them through obsessive thinking about others. If you are lonely, reach out to others in meaningful ways. If you require connection, be genuinely present when you are with someone. If you need comfort, learn to comfort yourself. If you seek control, focus your energy on what is truly within your control. Your own thoughts, your own actions, your own choices, not theirs. This is undeniably hard work. It requires you to confront the often uncomfortable reality of your actual situation, rather than residing in the fantasy that constant thinking about someone creates. It demands that you genuinely feel your feelings, instead of cleverly avoiding them through endless mental loops about other people. But Jung firmly believed that this kind of radical honesty, this direct and courageous engagement with reality, is precisely what allows the psyche to truly heal and profoundly grow. You cannot heal while living in a perpetual fantasy. You cannot grow while you are constantly avoiding yourself. You must be willing to be real, to be truly present, to bravely face what is actually there within you. And what is actually there, when you cease thinking so much about others and consciously turn towards yourself, is usually a rich and complex mix of things, some beautiful, some painful, some confusing, some remarkably clear. But all of it is uniquely yours. All of it is real, and all of it profoundly deserves your full attention. Your joy deserves your attention. Your grief deserves your attention. Your anger deserves your attention. Your longing deserves your attention. Not their approval, not their validation, not their understanding. Yours. You are the one who needs to truly see yourself. You are the one who needs to validate your own experience. You are the one who needs to be present with your own life. And you simply cannot accomplish that while you are consistently giving all your mental energy to someone else. You must bring it back. You must reclaim your precious attention. You must consciously choose yourself. This is what Jung meant when he spoke about the relationship with the self being the most paramount relationship. Not because you should be selfish or isolated, but because if you lack a deep and authentic relationship with yourself, if you do not truly know yourself, if you are not deeply present with yourself, you cannot genuinely be present with anyone else. You will simply be projecting. You will simply be thinking about them constantly. You will simply be giving your power away, all the while wondering why you feel so profoundly exhausted and empty. So, tonight, as you continue to rest, I want you to practice being truly with yourself. Notice when your mind instinctively wants to wander to someone else, and gently, kindly bring it back to you. Back to your breath, back to your body, back to what you are feeling in this very moment. It is perfectly okay if this feels uncomfortable at first. It is okay if you are unsure of what you feel. It is okay if being with yourself brings forth feelings of sadness, or loneliness, or fear. Those feelings are allowed to be present. They are an intrinsic part of being human, and they desperately need your compassion, not your avoidance. The practice is simply to be here, to be fully present with yourself, to stop thinking about them and start genuinely feeling yourself, your own aliveness, your own existence, your own inherent worth. A worth that does not depend on what they think or what they do. You matter. Not because of how perfectly you understand others, not because of how much you think about them, but simply because you exist, because you are here, because you are a human being inherently worthy of your own attention and your own tender care. Let that profound truth slowly sink in tonight. Allow yourself to begin to believe it, even just a little. You do not have to earn your own attention. You do not have to be flawless or perfect to deserve your own care. You simply have to be willing to be here with yourself. That is enough. That is everything, in fact. Just rest now. Just breathe. Just be with yourself for a while. The thoughts about others can patiently wait. Tonight, you are here with you. And that is exactly where you need to be. Let me share another profound insight that Jung held about thinking too much about others. He understood that there are different qualities and types of thinking, and not all of them are equal in their value or impact. Some forms of thinking are productive, leading to insight and progress, while others are decidedly destructive, trapping us in cycles of rumination. And most of the thinking we do about other people, Jung recognized, unfortunately falls into that destructive category. Productive thinking is characterized by its purposefulness, when you are actively solving a problem, meticulously formulating a plan, genuinely understanding something novel, or thoughtfully processing a significant experience. It possesses a discernible beginning, a clear middle, and a logical end. It leads somewhere, culminating in a resolution or a new perspective. You engage with the thought, you diligently work it through, and then you are able to move on. However, obsessive thinking about other people is fundamentally different. It does not resolve anything. It does not lead to any conclusive destination. It simply loops endlessly. You find yourself recycling the same thoughts over and over again. You replay the same conversations ad nauseum. You endlessly ponder the same unresolved questions. You arrive at the same non-conclusions, only to repeat the entire process once more. Jung would term this destructive pattern rumination. And rumination, he understood, is not true thinking in the creative or problem-solving sense. It is more akin to a mental compulsion, a well-worn groove that your mind habitually falls into, a pattern that repeats primarily because it is familiar, not because it is genuinely useful or yields any new understanding. And rumination about other people specifically is almost invariably rooted in underlying anxiety. You are anxious about what they truly think of you. You are anxious about the possibility of their rejection. You are anxious about misunderstanding them, or perhaps being profoundly misunderstood yourself. You are anxious about the prospect of losing them, or not having them, or not being enough for them. So, your mind instinctively attempts to alleviate and solve this pervasive anxiety through endless thinking. The internal monologue suggests, if I just think about it enough, if I just analyze it from every conceivable angle, if I just painstakingly figure out exactly what happened and what it truly means, then I'll finally feel better. Then I'll know precisely what to do. Then I'll finally be safe. But, Jung would assert, it simply does not function in that manner. This is because the underlying anxiety is not, in fact, truly about them. The anxiety is fundamentally about you, about your own insecurities, your own deep-seated fear of rejection, your own inherent uncertainty about your self-worth. And you cannot resolve that deeply personal anxiety by thinking about someone else. You can only address it by courageously turning towards yourself, by directly engaging with your own anxiety, by diligently building a stronger and more resilient sense of self that does not depend so heavily on what others think or do. This can be a difficult truth to accept because we are so accustomed to believing that if we experience anxiety about a relationship, the solution must intrinsically involve the other person. We assume we need them to reassure us. We need them to clarify what they truly meant. We need them to unequivocally prove they care. We need them to alter their behavior. But Jung would argue that needing all of this from them is, in fact, an integral part of the problem. It signifies that you are relinquishing your power over your own internal state, handing it over to them. It means you feel you cannot be genuinely okay unless they perform or say precisely the right thing. And that, he recognized, is an impossible and untenable situation because you simply cannot control them. You can only control yourself. So the true work is not to think more about them. The profound work is to cultivate enough internal security within yourself so that you no longer require constant external reassurance, so that you can genuinely tolerate uncertainty, so that you can be present with your anxiety without feeling an overwhelming need to make it disappear through obsessive thinking. And developing that crucial internal security begins with recognizing the distinct difference between when you are merely ruminating and when you are actually engaging in productive thought. Start by noticing the fundamental quality of your thoughts about others. Are these thoughts leading anywhere? Are they genuinely helping you understand something new or gaining fresh insight? Are they moving you towards a clear decision or a constructive action? Or are you simply repeating the same mental loop you've been trapped in for days or weeks or even months? If it is the latter, if you clearly recognize that you are ruminating, then the single most helpful thing you can do is to stop, not by forcefully banishing the thoughts, but by gently redirecting your attention to something else entirely, to your breath, to the sensations in your body, to the immediate present moment, to something you actually can control. Jung believed that the psyche possesses an innate wisdom. If you cease feeding the rumination, if you stop engaging with the obsessive thoughts, eventually, over time, they will lose their power. They will quiet down. They will gradually release their tenacious grip, not instantaneously, but progressively. However, if you continue to engage with them, if you continue to follow every single thought about the other person down the rabbit hole of analysis, you are actively reinforcing the very pattern you wish to break. You are, in essence, training your mind that this is what we do. We think about them, we worry about them, we try to figure them out. And as a result, the pattern becomes even stronger, more entrenched. Breaking that pattern requires discipline, not harsh, punitive discipline, but a gentle, consistent, and compassionate redirection, over and over again. Every time you catch yourself ruminating, you consciously bring your attention back to yourself, back to the now, back to what is actually right in front of you. And here is another incredibly important insight that Jung understood. When you stop thinking so much about others, you create space. Space in your mind, space in your psyche, and ultimately, space in your life itself. And that newly created space, initially, might feel profoundly uncomfortable. It might even feel empty, or boring, or deeply lonely, because you have been accustomed to filling that space with thoughts about others for such a long time, perhaps for your entire life. And now there is just space, just quiet, just you with yourself. And if you are unaccustomed to that inner quiet, it can be quite unsettling. But Jung would advise you not to fill that space too quickly. Don't immediately seek out someone else to think about, or some other distraction to occupy your mind. Instead, allow the space to simply exist. Sit with it. Be genuinely curious about what emerges within that quiet. See what arises when you are not constantly filling your mind with thoughts about other people. What often emerges is surprisingly profound. Creative ideas you previously had no time or mental bandwidth for. Deep-seated feelings you have been skillfully avoiding. A newfound clarity about what you genuinely desire and value. A surge of energy you didn't realize you possessed. A clearer sense of yourself that was buried beneath all the mental noise concerning others. This space, this initial emptiness that manifests when you cease obsessing about other people, is actually fertile ground for growth. Jung would term it the void. And the void, in his understanding, is not empty in a negative or desolate sense. It is instead empty in a way that is brimming with infinite possibilities. It is the sacred place from which something entirely new and transformative can emerge. But you must be willing to be present with it, to resist the immediate urge to rush in and fill it. You must trust that the discomfort associated with this space is temporary, and that something profoundly valuable resides on the other side of it. For many individuals, this is the most challenging part of the entire process, sitting with that perceived emptiness, being truly with themselves, without the familiar distraction of obsessive thoughts about others. It invariably brings up all the difficult feelings that the obsessive thinking was so effectively helping them to avoid. The deep loneliness, the gnawing fear, the unresolved grief, the simmering anger, the pervasive shame. All of these powerful emotions surface when you stop using thoughts about others as a protective buffer. And that, undeniably, is painful. But it is also absolutely necessary because those feelings need to be authentically felt. They demand your attention. They need to be allowed to move through you, to be processed, instead of being held perpetually at bay by constant mental loops centered on someone else. Jung firmly believed that unfelt feelings do not simply vanish. Instead, they create symptoms, they generate anxiety, they give rise to obsessive thoughts, they create entrenched patterns that keep you feeling stuck and unable to move forward. But when you are willing to genuinely feel them, when you are willing to be present with them instead of avoiding them, they gradually begin to release their powerful hold on you. So a significant part of not thinking too much about others is cultivating the willingness to feel more. To truly feel your own authentic feelings instead of remaining trapped in your head, exhaustively trying to figure out theirs. It means choosing to be present with your own experience rather than constantly projecting onto someone else. This is vulnerable work. It is tender work. It demands that you engage with yourself in ways you might be completely unaccustomed to. But Jung would assert that this is the work that genuinely heals. This is the work that ultimately sets you truly free. Now, let's address something practical, because I don't want you to misconstrue this as being solely about inner work and the processing of feelings. There is also a very practical component to the practice of not thinking too much about others. When you think about someone constantly, you are very often engaged in a form of mental rehearsal. You are rehearsing precisely what you will say to them. You are mentally practicing how you will respond if they say this or that specific thing. You are playing out various future scenarios repeatedly in your mind, and you genuinely believe you are preparing yourself, making yourself ready for the actual, real-time interaction. But Jung would tell you that all this incessant mental rehearsal actually makes you less present when you are finally with the person. This is because you are not truly listening to what they are authentically saying in the moment. Instead, you are listening for the cue to deliver the response you meticulously rehearsed. You are not genuinely seeing who they actually are in this specific moment. You are seeing the version of them you have been endlessly imagining. So all that elaborate thinking about them, all that extensive mental preparation, does not in fact help. It actively gets in the way of real, authentic connection. This is because genuine connection unfolds in the present moment. It happens when both individuals are truly present, both are authentic, and both are responding spontaneously to what is actually occurring, rather than to what they imagined would happen. This implies that thinking less about someone might, paradoxically, actually improve your interactions with them. When you show up for a conversation without all the prior rehearsal, without all the mental preparation, you are far more available to genuinely meet them, to truly see them, and to respond authentically from your true self, instead of from a pre-written script you've been running in your head. Again, this is counterintuitive. We tend to believe that we need to think about people to maintain a strong connection with them. But Jung deeply understood that real connection blossoms when we are not stuck in our heads, when we are truly present, when we are responsive to what is actually unfolding in front of us, rather than to our projections, our rehearsals, and our anxieties. So, a crucial part of not thinking too much about others is learning to trust yourself to be present when you are actually with them. Trusting that you do not need to have everything meticulously figured out in advance. Trusting that you possess the innate capacity to respond effectively in the moment to whatever genuinely happens. And building that profound trust requires actual experience. It requires practicing showing up without the mental preparation, without the extensive rehearsal, without having spent countless hours thinking about them beforehand, and then discovering that it is in fact perfectly okay, that you can handle whatever arises, that you are far more capable and resourceful in the moment than you previously thought you were. This process can be scary at first because we often use all that incessant thinking as a comforting security blanket. We mistakenly believe it makes us safe. But Jung would assert that it provides only a false sense of security. True security emanates from trusting yourself, from knowing deep down that you can skillfully handle things as they emerge, from being deeply grounded in yourself, regardless of what others do or say. And you simply cannot build that kind of unwavering trust while you are consistently giving all your power away to thoughts about other people. You must consciously practice coming back to yourself. Practice trusting yourself. Practice being present without the mental preparation. Let me share another profound consequence of reducing the amount you think about others. You begin to see them with far greater clarity. Not the distorted version of them you meticulously constructed in your mind, not your projection, but who they authentically are as human beings. Because when you are not constantly thinking about someone, when you are not endlessly analyzing them or trying to figure them out, you become significantly more available to simply observe, to notice, to genuinely see what is actually there, instead of what you are desperately looking for, or intensely afraid of, or fervently hoping for. And sometimes what you ultimately see can be profoundly surprising. Sometimes you come to the startling realization that they are not, in fact, who you thought they were at all. Sometimes you realize the relationship itself is not what you believed it to be. Sometimes you recognize that you have been in love with, or intensely afraid of, or tirelessly trying to please, a version of them that existed solely within your own mind. This can be disorienting, even painful, but it is also deeply liberating. Because it means you can finally begin to relate to the actual person rather than to your projection of them. And relating to the actual person, whoever they may be, is a far more honest, more real, and more deeply grounded experience in truth. Even if that truth reveals that they are not capable of providing what you need. Even if that truth indicates that the relationship is fundamentally unhealthy. Even if that truth necessitates that you eventually need to let go, at least you are engaging with reality instead of a comforting fantasy. Jung dedicated a significant amount of his time to helping people distinguish between their projections and objective reality. He profoundly understood how much suffering arises from being in relationship with our own projections rather than with actual living people. And he knew that the process of withdrawing projections, of learning to see clearly, is one of the most difficult and yet most vital aspects of psychological work. When you choose to stop thinking so much about someone, you are actively beginning the process of withdrawing your projections. You are beginning to see with greater clarity, and that newfound clarity, even when it brings discomfort, is immensely valuable. Because you simply cannot make wise, sound decisions based on projections. You can only make truly good decisions based on reality. So tonight, as you continue to rest deeply, I want you to consider what might become remarkably clear if you were to significantly reduce the amount you think about the people in your life. What truths would you perceive if you were not looking through the distorted lens of your projections, your anxieties, and your hopes? Perhaps you would see that they are genuinely doing the very best they can with the resources and understanding they possess. Maybe you would realize that they are simply not capable of providing what you truly need. Perhaps you would discern that they do care about you, but in their own unique way, even if it doesn't manifest in the precise manner you desired. Maybe you would realize that you are clinging tightly to something that, in reality, ended a long time ago. Whatever you might perceive, it would likely be far closer to the truth than what you are currently seeing through all the layers of thoughts, projections, and mental loops. And seeing the truth, actively working with reality, that is precisely what allows you to move forward, to make genuinely real choices, to construct a life founded on what actually is, instead of what you desperately wish were true. This is arduous work. Jung knew it was challenging, but he also knew it was absolutely necessary. He understood that we cannot become who we are truly meant to be while we are living in a perpetual fantasy. While we are dedicating all our mental energy to projections of other people, while we are skillfully avoiding ourselves through obsessive thinking about someone else, we are unable to fulfill our own potential. We must consciously return, back to reality, back to ourselves, back to what is actually true, present, and here. And when we do this, when we genuinely stop thinking so much about others and begin to be truly present with ourselves, everything within our experience begins to profoundly shift. The pervasive anxiety lessens significantly because we are no longer ceaselessly spinning in mental loops. Our relationships improve demonstrably because we are more present, more authentic, and less needy in our interactions. Our sense of self strengthens profoundly because we are, perhaps for the first time, actually paying genuine attention to ourselves. And gradually over time, we discover that we do not need to think about others constantly to maintain connection, that we do not need to figure them out perfectly to feel okay, that we can allow them to be precisely who they are, and we can also be precisely who we are, and that there can be deep connection without the entanglement and the suffocating grip of obsessive thinking. This is precisely what Jung meant by differentiation. Two separate, autonomous individuals, each cultivating their own rich inner life, each capable of being truly with themselves. Choosing to engage in a relationship not because they desperately need each other to feel complete, but because they genuinely enjoy each other's company, because they deeply value each other, and because the relationship genuinely enhances their lives without consuming them or their individual identities. That is the transformative kind of relating that becomes possible when you cease thinking too much about anyone. When you consciously bring your attention back to yourself, when you diligently develop your own strong inner center, your own stable ground, your own unwavering sense of who you are, independent of what others think or do. Tonight, you are actively practicing that very process. You are practicing being deeply with yourself, allowing thoughts about others to arise within your mind, and then gently, kindly, letting them go. Not engaging with them, not following them down the proverbial rabbit hole of endless analysis, just noticing them, acknowledging their presence, and then consciously returning to yourself. Keep practicing this. Keep redirecting your attention. Keep coming back to the steady rhythm of your breath, to the physical sensations of your body, to this very present moment, to your true self. You are in the process of learning something profoundly important. You are learning that you can be truly with yourself, that you do not need to fill every single moment with thoughts about others, that there is something profoundly valuable, something undeniably real, something inherently solid, residing right here within your own presence. That is precisely what Jung desired for you to discover, the immense treasure that has been patiently waiting for you all along, hidden beneath the constant mental noise and preoccupation with others, your true self, your authentic nature, the part of you that is inherently whole and always has been. It is here. It has been here all along. You just need to stop thinking about them long enough to truly notice it. Allow yourself to rest now. Allow yourself to simply be here. Allow yourself to stop trying to figure everyone else out and simply be present with the profound mystery of your own existence. That is enough for tonight. That is everything, in fact. Just rest. Just breathe. Just be. There's something else Jung said that might initially strike you as harsh, but it contains a profound and liberating truth. He stated that much of what we commonly refer to as love is, in actuality, a thinly veiled demand for the other person to complete us, to fill our own internal emptiness, to make us feel whole and integrated. And when we find ourselves thinking about someone constantly, obsessively, we are typically engaged in precisely that demand. We are not thinking about them out of a mature, differentiated love. Rather, we are thinking about them because we desperately need something from them. We need them to validate us. We need them to prove we are worthy. We need them to fill an aching void inside us that we don't know how to fill ourselves. And this, Jung would contend, is not love. It is dependence. It is projection. It is the psyche desperately seeking wholeness outside of itself, instead of undertaking the essential inner work required to become whole from within. Real love, mature love, the kind of love Jung believed was truly attainable after you have diligently done the work of individuation. Real love does not necessitate constant thinking about the other person. It doesn't demand obsessive focus. It doesn't require tirelessly figuring them out, or attempting to control them, or merging your identity with theirs. Real love is spacious. It grants the other person the freedom and autonomy to be precisely who they are. It doesn't need them to conform to any expectation, other than their authentic self. It can hold them gently and lightly, rather than gripping them tightly with desperate need. And it can achieve this because it emanates from a place of inner fullness, rather than from a pervasive sense of inner emptiness. But most of us were never taught this profound kind of love. We were conditioned to believe that love means unwavering, constant attention, that love means making someone the absolute center of your universe, that love means thinking about them ceaselessly, all the time, that if you are not obsessed, you must not truly care. So, we learn to equate obsession with love. We learn to quantify how much we love someone by the sheer amount of mental space they occupy within our minds, and we inevitably end up exhausted, depleted, and anxious, because we are attempting to maintain a level of mental focus that is neither sustainable nor, in its essence, true love. Jung would invite you to fundamentally question this equation, to ask yourself sincerely, is thinking about someone constantly really love? Or is it a manifestation of need? Is it rooted in fear? Is it an unconscious attempt to control something that is inherently beyond your control? Is it a clever way of avoiding your own essential inner work? These are indeed difficult questions to ponder, because if you have spent your entire life genuinely believing that your obsessive thinking about others is irrefutable evidence of the depth of your caring, then letting go of that belief can feel akin to letting go of love itself. It can feel as though, if you stop thinking about them so much, you will automatically cease caring. You might fear becoming cold, or indifferent, or completely disconnected. But Jung understood that the opposite is, in fact, true. When you cease thinking about someone obsessively, when you consciously withdraw your desperate need for them to complete you, when you diligently develop your own robust sense of inner wholeness, you become far more capable of experiencing real, authentic love. You become capable of truly seeing them for who they are, of appreciating them fully, of being genuinely with them without needing them to be any different from their true selves. This is paradoxical. You often have to let go to truly connect. You have to stop needing them so intensely in order to love them well and authentically. You have to fill yourself up first so you can relate to them from a place of inner overflow rather than from a pervasive sense of emptiness. And filling yourself up does not imply becoming perfect or enlightened or having all your issues miraculously resolved. It simply means being authentically present with yourself. It means genuinely knowing yourself. It means cultivating a relationship with your own inner life that is rich enough, full enough, that you are not constantly looking to others to provide what is inherently missing within you. This is the profound work of individuation. This is precisely what Jung dedicated his life to helping people understand, that you cannot bypass yourself. To achieve a truly real and authentic relationship with others, you must first undertake the essential work of becoming a self, of knowing who you are, of being genuinely with yourself, of diligently filling your own cup. And when your cup is truly full, when you are deeply grounded in your own being, you do not need to think about others constantly. You can be fully present with them when you are together. You can think about them sometimes when you are apart, but it is not this desperate, anxious, obsessive fixation. It is simply a natural, organic connection between two whole, autonomous individuals. Now let me be unequivocally clear about something vital once more. When I say, don't think too much about anyone, I am absolutely not suggesting that you should cease to care. I am not advocating for you to be cold, or distant, or avoidant. What I am saying is that you learn to care from a profound place of inner wholeness, instead of from a desperate place of inherent need. The distinction between these two ways of caring is utterly profound. When you care from a place of wholeness, you possess the capacity to be present with someone's pain without feeling an overwhelming compulsion to fix it. You can witness their unique life journey without trying to control its direction. You can love them deeply without needing them to love you back in a specific, prescribed way. However, when you care from a place of desperate need, everything within the relationship becomes fraught with urgency and desperation. You feel an intense obligation to fix their pain because their pain makes you profoundly uncomfortable. You feel compelled to control their journey because their choices directly affect how you feel about yourself. You feel you must make them love you in precisely the way you desire, because without it, you feel incomplete and fragmented. This kind of caring, this desperate caring that springs from a deep sense of need, is precisely what drives obsessive thinking. Because if you need them that much, you feel an inescapable compulsion to think about them constantly. You feel you must meticulously monitor them. You feel you must strive to understand them with perfect clarity so that you can ultimately extract what you need from them. But Jung would tell you that you are never truly going to get what you ultimately need from them. Not because they are inherently bad people or because they do not care, but because what you truly need, what you are genuinely searching for, can only originate from within. It can only come from diligently doing your own inner work, from becoming your own integrated person, from filling your own emptiness instead of perpetually asking them to fill it for you. This is a challenging truth to accept, because it necessitates taking full and complete responsibility for yourself. It means acknowledging that all the intense thinking about them, all the obsessive rumination, all the relentless trying to figure them out, it is not, in fact, actually about them. It is profoundly about you, about what you need to cultivate and develop within yourself. And that, Jung recognized, is far harder work than simply thinking about someone else. It is more challenging to bravely face yourself than to endlessly focus on them. It is more difficult to truly feel your own emptiness than to desperately try to get them to fill it. It is harder to embark on the journey of becoming whole than to remain perpetually dependent. But it is the only way forward, the only authentic path to freedom, the only true route to real, meaningful relationship. Jung believed that the second half of life is fundamentally about this work, about turning inward, about diligently developing the parts of yourself that may have been neglected or underdeveloped in the first half of life, about becoming whole and integrated instead of remaining fragmented. And for many individuals, especially those who spent the first half of their lives primarily focused on others, pleasing others, thinking about others, the second half of life demands a radical redirection, a conscious turning away from a constant outward focus on others, and a profound turning towards the self. This does not imply that you should become isolated or self-absorbed. It means you develop a profound sense of balance. It means you consciously give yourself as much thoughtful attention as you have consistently been giving to others. It means you think about your own needs, your own wants and your own feelings with the same diligent care and consideration that you have been applying to everyone else's. And this will feel revolutionary. It will feel selfish. It will feel inherently wrong, because everything you were taught likely reinforced the idea that good people focus on others, that loving people think about others constantly, that caring equates to self-sacrifice. But Jung would profoundly challenge all of that deeply ingrained conditioning. He would contend that you cannot genuinely give to others what you have not first cultivated within yourself. You cannot authentically offer presence if you are not present with yourself. You cannot offer true love if you do not first love yourself. You cannot offer genuine acceptance if you have not first accepted yourself. So, the profound work of not thinking so much about others is, in essence, the work of thinking more about yourself, of consciously turning your attention inward, of asking yourself the very same deep and insightful questions you have been asking about everyone else. What do I truly feel right now? What do I genuinely need? What do I sincerely want? What holds deep importance for me? What am I afraid of? What am I actively avoiding? What would genuinely make my life meaningful? These questions, when you truly sit with them, when you grant them dedicated time, focused attention and genuine curiosity, these questions lead you home. They lead you back to yourself, to the self that Jung so eloquently talked about, the self that has been patiently waiting all along for you to finally turn toward it. And the self, in Jung's profound understanding, is not something you have to laboriously create. It is already there. It has always been there. You just have to cease filling your consciousness with thoughts about others long enough to finally notice it, to feel its presence, to connect with it. This is what ancient meditation traditions have been teaching for thousands of years. This is what depth psychology fundamentally explores. This is what authentic spiritual practice points toward. The remarkable discovery that what you have been tirelessly seeking outside yourself is in fact residing deep inside. That the wholeness you are searching for does not come from another person. It comes from cultivating a profound connection with your own inner depths. But you cannot forge that connection while you are constantly consumed with thoughts about someone else. You have to deliberately create space. You have to consciously turn inward. You have to be willing to be with yourself, to sit with yourself, to truly meet yourself. And meeting yourself, truly meeting yourself, perhaps for the very first time, can be an intense and transformative experience, because you may discover you are not who you thought you were. You are not merely the collection of roles and performances and adaptations you have been presenting to the world. Beneath all of that resides something else entirely, something far more real, something that has been patiently waiting to be seen and acknowledged. Jung called this the true self, and he believed that discovering it, relating to it, and living from this authentic core is the ultimate task of a lifetime. This is what imbues life with profound meaning. This is what allows us to die having genuinely lived our own life, instead of the life others expected or wanted us to live. But we simply cannot live our own life while we are consistently giving all our mental energy to others. While we are constantly thinking about them and tirelessly trying to figure them out and meticulously managing their perception of us, that, Jung would argue, is living their life, not ours. Living our own authentic life requires that we pause, that we consciously redirect our attention, that we choose ourselves, even when it might feel initially selfish. It demands that we think about ourselves as much as we think about them. And when we do this, when we finally grant ourselves that invaluable attention, that tender care, that focused presence, something profound begins to shift. We start to feel more solid, more deeply grounded, more capable of being in a relationship without simultaneously losing ourselves. We also begin to clearly discern which relationships are genuinely healthy and supportive, and which ones only seem to function because we were consistently giving everything and implicitly asking for nothing in return. We start to recognize which people can truly handle us being a whole, integrated person, and which ones desperately need us to remain small, fragmented, and exclusively focused on them. This realization can indeed be painful, because some relationships may not survive your journey of individuation. Some people simply do not want you to stop thinking about them constantly. They desire for you to remain perpetually focused on them, managing their emotions and accommodating their needs. And when you withdraw that intense focus, when you begin to consciously pay attention to yourself, they might react by leaving, or becoming angry, or attempting to pull you back into the old familiar pattern. Jung understood this difficult truth. He knew that becoming your authentic self sometimes entails losing certain people from your life, that not everyone possesses the capacity to handle your differentiation, and that some relationships were, in fact, built upon your prior self-abandonment and simply cannot endure your self-reclamation. But he also knew that this is an inherent part of the process of growth, that you cannot become truly whole and integrated while simultaneously striving to maintain relationships that fundamentally demand you remain fragmented. That sometimes you have to courageously let go of those who wish for you to be less than your full self, so that you can finally become who you authentically are. This involves grief, real, profound grief, grieving the relationships that cannot withstand your growth, grieving the version of yourself who mistakenly believed that constant external focus on others was the true essence of love, grieving the comforting fantasy that if you just thought about them enough, figured them out perfectly, they would finally provide you with what you desperately needed. That grief deserves ample space. It deserves profound recognition. But it does not signify that you should revert to your old ways. It does not mean you should return to obsessive thinking about others. Instead, it means you are growing, you are changing, You are evolving into your true self. And that transformative process invariably involves a certain degree of loss. But what you gain in return is so immeasurably more profound than what you lose. You gain yourself. You gain your life. You gain the invaluable capacity to be fully present. You gain relationships built on reality instead of on desperate need, projection, and fantasy. You gain true freedom. Freedom from the relentlessly exhausting pattern of constantly thinking about everyone else all the time. Freedom from the pervasive anxiety of tirelessly trying to control what others think of you. Freedom from the incessant need for external validation from outside yourself. This freedom, it must be acknowledged, is not easily claimed. It demands courage. It requires you to be willing to disappoint people who genuinely want you to remain perpetually focused on them. It requires you to bravely sit with the discomfort of being truly with yourself. It requires you to feel the deep-seated feelings you have been so skillfully avoiding through your obsessive thinking about others. But Jung firmly believed that it is profoundly worth it, that this profound freedom is worth the temporary discomfort, that becoming your true self is worth the grief it may entail, that living your own authentic life is worth disappointing those who wish for you to live theirs. Tonight, as you continue to rest deeply, I want you to truly imagine what that freedom might genuinely feel like. What would it be like to awaken tomorrow and not immediately begin thinking about someone else? What would it be like to navigate your day primarily focused on your own experience instead of constantly wondering what others are thinking about you? What would it be like to be fully present in a conversation, completely engaged, instead of trapped in your head, mentally rehearsing what you'll say next? What would it be like to make decisions based on what you truly want, instead of what you believe others expect of you? What would it be like to go to bed at night and simply be with yourself, instead of ceaselessly spinning in mental loops about someone else? That, my friend, is the profound freedom Jung is pointing toward. That is what becomes truly possible when you stop thinking too much about anyone. When you consciously bring your attention back to yourself, when you choose to be authentically with yourself instead of being lost in a labyrinth of thoughts about others. It is possible. It is available to you. It begins tonight with this gentle practice of noticing and redirecting, of being genuinely with yourself, of consciously choosing yourself. Keep practicing, keep redirecting, keep consistently coming home to yourself. That is where the real transformative work lies. That is where real life truly flourishes. That is where freedom profoundly lives. Just rest now. Just be here. Just let yourself stop trying to figure anyone out and simply be present with the profound mystery of your own existence. You are doing the work. You are choosing yourself, and that is everything. Just breathe. Just rest. Just be. As we move into the deeper part of the night, I want to share with you something else that Jung understood about what ultimately happens when you finally stop thinking so much about others. It is something beautiful, something that makes all this challenging work undeniably worth doing. When you cease giving all your mental energy to other people, when you finally bring your invaluable attention home to yourself, you make a remarkable discovery. You discover that you have always been enough, that you never truly needed their validation or their approval or their understanding to feel whole, that the profound wholeness was residing within you all along, patiently waiting for you to simply notice it. This is precisely what Jung meant when he spoke about the self, not the ego self, not the self that is constructed from others' opinions and your own careful adaptations, but the self with a capital S, the deep self, your true nature, the authentic essence that has been with you since the moment you were born and will remain with you until you die. That profound self does not need anyone else to complete it. It does not require constant thinking about others to feel connected. It does not need to figure everyone out to feel safe. It is already whole. It has always been whole. And when you finally quiet the incessant mental noise about others, when you create enough inner quietude, you begin to sense that inherent wholeness. You start to feel it, not merely as an abstract idea, not as a fleeting concept, but as a vibrant, living reality, as something deeply true and solid within you. And here, this is what all the diligent work has been leading toward. All the conscious noticing, all the gentle redirecting, all the consistent choosing of yourself, over and over again. It has been guiding you home. Home to yourself, home to the self that needs nothing from anyone else to be complete. And from that sacred place, from that deeply grounded sense of wholeness, your relationships fundamentally transform. Because you are no longer relating from a place of desperate need. You are no longer implicitly demanding that others complete you. You are relating from a place of inner fullness, from conscious choice, from genuine, authentic care, instead of from a desperate, grasping attachment. People intuitively feel this profound difference. They feel it when you are present with them from a place of wholeness instead of from need. They sense it when you are truly present, rather than trapped in your head thinking about them. They perceive it when you truly see them clearly, instead of projecting your own inner world onto them. And often, paradoxically, when you cease needing them so intensely, when you stop thinking about them constantly, they often become more interested, more available, more genuinely engaged. Precisely because they are no longer dealing with your projections,